Morchok will more than likely be the first encounter that you experience in Heroic Dragon Soul. All in all, it's not all that difficult, and it's not too different from the original version of the fight. Our raid composition for this kill consisted of 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 6 DPS. Many groups out there run 4 healers or even 3 healers, but you'll want to gauge that based on the skill and ability of your healers in your group, as well as your raid makeup. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the changes to heroic difficulty on this fight. First of all, you're going to notice that Morchok has a significantly less health pool. He has roughly 21.5 million health on 10-man heroic. The most notable difference on heroic is that at 90%, Morchok will split into his twin Kokram. The idea of this fight is to split your raid into 2 different groups of 5 people. 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 DPS. Kokram and Morchok both share the same health, so you don't need to worry about burning one faster than the other. It's a shared health pool. Another notable difference on heroic mode is that Morchok and Kokram both do not use crush armor on the tank. Kokram has the same skill set as Morchok, except he'll execute those skills shortly after Morchok does. So once Morchok does a stomp, a couple seconds later you're going to get a stomp from Kokram. Same thing with Resonating Crystal. When you have Resonating Crystal spawn, shortly afterwards Kokram will spawn his. Aside from the subtle differences, the fight remains the same as normal mode, except you're doing it with 5 people in each group instead of 10. There are several important factors to take note of. First of all, you need to deal with double stomp damage. The 2 closest people, whenever stomp happens to either Morchok or Kokram, will take 100% damage. Ideally, this is best soaked by a melee class that has some kind of damage mitigation. For this kill, the Morchok side had a rogue to soak the double stomp damage. On my side, we didn't have another melee, so we actually used a Discipline Priest for that. A couple of things to note for using a Discipline Priest for this is number 1, the priest has to be shielded before every stomp. And number 2, I glyphed for Inner Fire in order to increase the amount of armor gain from my cloth. It may seem that the armor gain is insignificant, but every little bit helps with absorbing damage. The negative side to a healer soaking double stomp damage is that there's going to be overall more damage on the side to heal. Keeping myself topped up as well as putting a shield on myself before each stomp is crucial. The damage I took from each stomp was roughly 160k. With the shield on, that shouldn't be a problem. Once the enrage hits at 20%, it's very important to shield for every single stomp. You'll see in this video I actually failed to shield myself for one of them and died, so don't mind me, I just played a little bit bad towards the end and almost wiped the raid. The benefit of having myself as a healer soak the double stomp damage is that I don't have to run to the crystal to soak it. This allowed me to make sure that groups were topped up, pre-shielded, prayer of healing was going out, and heals basically just went out smoother. Again, it is more damage to heal because I'm taking a large amount of damage from stomp, but for our raid makeup it was just better for me to do that. The fight itself has a pretty consistent rhythm and doesn't really throw a lot of randomness out there. For each full cycle, you're going to get 2 stomps, a Resonating Crystal spawn, another stomp, a Resonating Crystal spawn, a final stomp, and Black Blood. It's very important for DPS players to understand that once a crystal goes out, you need to eat the stomp first, then go to the crystal to soak it. After the crystal explodes, you can run back in to eat the next stomp. Tanks will want to remain mindful for this rhythm, and especially the stress put on the healers healing this, especially if you're 2 healing it. The majority of the heavy healing will need to come from the cycle when you have a crystal, a stomp, and another crystal. If the raid is not topped up at this point, you may wipe the side. The fight is relatively short, it's about 3 or 4 minutes, so use your 3-minute cooldowns once the 20% hits and the healing becomes hectic. That's when more damage goes out and more focus is needed on keeping the raid topped up for the healers. Tanks, if you have a 4-piece from tier 13, this is very beneficial for your raid. That pretty much sums it up for the fight. It's pretty systematic and there are really no random elements to it. Healers know what damage is going to go out, so do tanks as well as DPS. The difference between a group that succeeds and a group that fails at killing this will more than likely be the healing output requirement. It is very high. If you try to healing this and you seem to struggle, go ahead and throw in a 3rd or a 4th healer in there even. This fight is not a DPS check and it's pretty much all about the healers being able to keep their output up. I hope you enjoyed this guide and feel free to click the like button if you found this beneficial for you. Also, feel free to subscribe to me as more guide videos will be posted as soon as we get more kills.